least what Savannah Guthrie seems. It seems Nancy Guthrie is still alive. That is at least what Savannah Guthrie seems to be telegraphing in her latest Instagram post. She says she, meaning Nancy, is feeling these prayers. So she believes Nancy is still out there. And the other thing that seems clear is they have reached a dead end with whoever took her mother. She says that we believe our mom is out there. We need your help. This is Monday, and the deadline is today at 5 o'clock Tucson time. And the kidnappers made it very clear in the first ransom note, which we received, the situation is dire if they are true to their words, if they don't get that ransom money at 5 o'clock today, Tucson time. We have checked the Bitcoin address, and you can see what's deposited. As of this moment, the $6 million ransom has not been deposited. Something has happened where they are at a stalemate, because if you remember over the weekend, Savannah said, we are ready to pay, and the money isn't there. There is some reason, obviously, as to why they haven't. And it just seems like Savannah is throwing her hands up, saying law enforcement is doing everything they possibly can, but she is begging for the help of anybody, no matter how far away, for anything that could be a clue. The kidnappers, as far as we know, have not shown proof of life. Now, we have only seen the first ransom note, not the second. The second was sent to a local Phoenix television station, but it seems that the kidnappers have not done anything concrete, although there is something really interesting in the message Savannah left over the weekend when she said, we understand, referring to that first note. So there is something that the kidnappers said or demanded that Savannah is acknowledging. And then to me, the key word in that Instagram post over the weekend is the word celebrate. What did Savannah mean to say, we want to celebrate with our mother? It's an odd phrase to use in the middle of all of this. And the only thing I can think of is that word may well have been used in that second ransom note. I don't know, because we haven't received the second, but the word is so out of context that I think it's reasonable to at least guess that that word was used in that second note. Now, she says, our mom has been taken and we don't know where. So she is kind of acknowledging that. And as we told you last Friday, that the way the ransom note, and we'll be a little bit descriptive now, the way the ransom note is worded, that they say we will bring your mother back to Tucson, meaning they're not in Tucson right now, if you believe them and take them at their word. We will bring her back to Tucson within 12 hours of the time that we receive the money. Well, if you take 12 hours and then you multiply it by 60 miles an hour, it gives you about a 700-mile radius around Tucson. And so it's basically the western United States, if you take them at their word that they would be within the confines of that 700-mile radius. Personally, I think that there is a good chance that they are way closer. And the reason I say that is there is a connection between this kidnapper and the Tucson television market, which is a much smaller radius than 700 miles. This person who wrote it has some connection to Tucson, because the first ransom note was sent to 2 local television stations there, in addition to us. The second ransom note sent to KOLD, which is one of those 2 television stations in Tucson. So whoever wrote this has some connection. Remember, if this were just somebody who saw Savannah Guthrie on TV and said, here's what we're going to do, they probably would have sent it to NBC News, where Savannah works. This is somebody connected to Tucson. And it just feels like it's somebody who either knew Nancy or knew of Nancy, that she had a famous daughter. And that's somebody in that Tucson area. So we talked about it on Friday, but it sure seems to me that if, and I want to say one other thing, that whoever wrote this is intelligent, is articulate, and I say that because the way that first ransom note is worded, it is well structured, the grammar is almost perfect.
Indeed.
And it is somebody who is smart. And so if there's somebody in the Tucson area who noticed that somebody over the last week has gone MIA, who is smart and articulate, I don't know, that might
so far at least.
But it just feels like this is somebody who lived in that Tucson area, or at least the Tucson market. And it is somebody who, if you believe this letter, is within that radius right now with Nancy of the city of Tucson, Arizona. So unfortunately, it seems, at least judging by Savannah's most recent post, that they are at some kind of a dead end, because she's just now begging for everybody's help.
Indeed, for sure.
As the clock keeps ticking.
Wow. My man has some really good things to say, man. I just hopped on to talk a little bit about the Nancy Guthrie investigation that's been going on. As we all know. First of all, by the way, what it do, guys? What it do? It's your boy YouTube Juice, man. I had to plug in, man. I had to, man. I ain't got too much time. I got to work in the morning, so I had to get in the live real quick. I had to plug in with the viewers, and even if it's one, even if it's none, I don't really care, man. I like to put that public awareness out there. I like to send a message. So that's what we're going to do today. I got a very, very, very interesting video I want to show y'all that might just change y'all perception on this whole entire thing, bro. Crazy, crazy video. And you might have seen it. You might have seen it. But I do want to show it to the video, to the viewers that haven't seen it. Also, I got several other videos I want to show y'all. As we all know, though, we had a deadline today, which was supposed to take place. Well, nothing was going to take place. We knew that. But there was a deadline for the Nancy Guthrie investigation that's going on. We know Nancy Guthrie went missing, I think, roughly, I want to say about 9 days ago on the 31st of January. And she was... Well, from what we heard, she was being held for ransom, and the person was demanding about $6 million in Bitcoin. It's a lot to explain. It really is. There was that ransom letter that was received at a couple local news stations out here in Tucson, Arizona, where I live, of course. Kind of crazy that that's happening. I believe TMZ was one of the people to get it, and Cold, I'm not too sure. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% sure on every single details here, but I have been highly in tune, and we gonna stay in tune with this whole thing, bro. This thing is crazy, bro. I hope they find this lady, man. An 84-year-old lady at that, just goes missing just randomly out of nowhere, bro. It don't make no sense to me. It ain't adding up. It ain't adding up. So I got a video I want to show y'all, bro. I might stop in between. I may not. I may just let it play through and then share some details. But just to elaborate more on what's going on, there was a Ring camera. Sheriffs are out here messing up. They went back several times, which everybody's making a big deal about that. It's just crazy, bro. It's a crazy situation, and it's just unfortunate too. And my heart goes out to the family, man. I hope they really at least get the closure that they're looking for. And that would be, honestly, of course, her coming back home, but just at least knowing whether their mom is no longer here, or, you know, she is here somewhere and she's actually still alive. From what I know, she had a pacemaker, and then she also had medications that she needed to be on to, you know, live a regular daily life, I guess, I suppose. I mean, but those medications kept her alive, and they're critical from what I'm hearing. So we'll see, man. We just gotta just keep staying patient. I mean, but I think this whole ransom thing is just a whole goose trail, man. It really is. But let's dive into this video, bro, because I really think this video is going to change our perception on this entire thing, bro. And like I said, you might have seen the video. Let's run this, though.
Y'all have seen this close-up and zoom in of how Annie Guthrie has been reacting to this whole situation with her mother Nancy being allegedly, yes, I say allegedly, kidnapped. And a lot of body language experts, a lot of ex-FBI, a lot of current FBI, ex-police are keying in on Annie as a potential suspect, including her husband, Tommaso. Now, can we say rightfully so? I agree. They were the last ones to see Nancy alive, allegedly. And there has been a lot of information and research that has come up in reference to Annie's relationship with Savannah, Annie's relationship with Nancy, and even with her husband. So we've got something I wanted to read from Amy, who's been investigating this and looking into this. If y'all don't follow Amy on X, please make sure you do that at IAmyLeigh on X. That's at IAMYLEIGH on X. She says a couple.
So just so y'all don't know, and y'all are new to the story, Annie is the sister of Savannah, which is Nancy's daughters. Okay, so this is one of Nancy's daughters here. So Nancy, remember, Nancy is the old lady that went missing, and she has two daughters. One of them Savannah, the other is Annie. Annie, I just gotta say straight up, right off the rip, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. Annie definitely looks really suspect to me. She looks really suspect, bro. Right now, I'm not gonna lie, what I'm observing is I feel like she's trying to cry, but she can't cry. You know, when someone's like really trying to dig and try to, you know what I'm saying? Everybody grieves differently. That's one thing for sure. But let's run it.
Couple of things. First thing she said was that there has been reports that Nancy's medicine was picked up by Annie from a pharmacy the day that she disappeared. Again, this has not been officially verified, but there are reports. And that the day that they brought her to her home. That would mean that if Tommaso, then wouldn't they have the medicine already? And wouldn't they have to take it if it was at the house? So there's that note. We're also saying, and Annie's also reporting, that cops have been seen leaving Annie Guthrie.
So I got to stop it here. So they're not giving us much of any information, right? They're not even sharing, from what I saw. I haven't seen it. The actual ransom note that was sent to the news. A lot of things have been they keeping things away from us, y'all. They are, and I get it. If somebody's being held for ransom, for one, let me just say this: if somebody's being held for ransom, they wouldn't, and it was real, because I feel like this is not real. I feel like somebody just did that to the news station and fucked this whole thing up. Excuse my language. I apologize. But listen, if you're being held for ransom, or I'm holding somebody for ransom, I don't want the police to know. I don't want them to get involved. Because how am I going to retrieve my money safely without leaving no trace and whatnot, and so on and so forth? There's just so many things that come into play. But I think also them, one thing he said, in the guy from the TMZ video, he was saying that they had an address and they still didn't send the money, the bitcoins. There was never any address. There's no way for them to send the money because they haven't been in response. For what we know, they haven't been in contact with the person who kidnapped Nancy. But let's continue on.
home wearing gloves, carrying brown bags. We know what that means. Still saying if it was at the house. So there's that note. We're also saying, and Amy's also reporting, that cops have been seen leaving Annie Guthrie's home wearing gloves, carrying brown bags. We know what that means. During the last night's search. Plus, flashlights at night with police taking photos. They surely must have found something, otherwise there wouldn't be anything to take photos of. FBI is not ruling anyone out at this point, and it makes sense that they are looking for signs of foul play at Annie's house because that's the last place Nancy was before she went home. But what's in the brown bags? They must have found something and are taking it to the lab for further analysis. So let's get into this other report from Amy. She did a great job with this as well. She said, as our resident body language expert, Amy has so much
just
insight
look
into
at that
what was going
lady,
on
bro.
during that last
I don't
video you
know,
guys just
man.
saw a clip from. And she says this: public interest in the body language of Annie Guthrie, the sister of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie, has surged following the kidnapping of their mother Nancy Guthrie on January 31st.
So by the way, guys, I didn't mention this, but Nancy, which is the grandma, I'm gonna just keep reminding y'all for those of y'all that don't know, the lady that's not the grandma, I'm sorry, the mother, the mother who's gone missing. Okay, Nancy's the grandmother who's gone missing. Okay, the daughter Savannah went to school here. I believe she went to Amphi High School, and she also went to U of A for college. She works for the Today Show, which is a very famous show, huge platform if you've ever heard of the platform. So she has a famous daughter, okay? And this is the one that's not. Let's continue.
Experts and amateur sleuths have focused primarily on the family's video pleas and the police activity at Annie's home on February.
And I just want you guys to see a good look, take a good look at Annie, bro. Just take a good look. I don't want you to, I just want you to just take a good look at her. Just take a good look. What do you think? What y'all thinking? Does she look like the type of person just judging the picture? Just judging the picture. Does she look somewhat suspicious? Let me know if you're plugged in right now. Let me know, man. Drop a comment, man. Don't be shy.
Well, she said, as our resident body language expert, Amy has so much insight into what was going on during that last video you guys just saw a clip from. And she says this: public interest in the body language of Annie Guthrie, the sister of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie, has surged following the kidnapping of their mother Nancy Guthrie on January 31st. Experts and amateur sleuths have focused primarily on the family's video pleas and the police activity at Annie's home on February 7th, just a couple of days ago. What went down? The video plea on February 7th, Annie appears alongside Savannah and their brother Cameron to plead for their mother's safe return. Analysts have noted several key behaviors: emotional fragility, unlike Savannah, who maintained a more direct and professional broadcast composure despite her voice cracking. Again, got to give Savannah credit because this is what she does for a living. So imagine sitting next to Savannah Guthrie and having to present yourself. You're probably gonna be outshone by Savannah in that case. But either way, Annie appeared visibly more withdrawn, and she did. We saw in that clip, Annie looks like she's somewhere else. She looks like she's very deep in thought and not about what's going on. She's like, oh God, please don't let them find out. Anyway, allegedly. She looked down frequently, which some analysts interpret as a sign of deep internal grief or being overwhelmed by the situation. Physical mirroring. Annie and Cameron stood close to Savannah, often mirroring her posture. In behavioral analysis, this is typically seen as a protective huddle, signaling high levels of family cohesion and mutual reliance during a crisis. The vocal tremors. When Annie spoke directly to her mother saying, "Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home," her vocal pitch fluctuated, Amy says. She says, experts note this is a genuine indicator of high stress, psychological response, vocal cord constriction due to adrenaline and cortisol. The evidence extraction on February 7th through just today and yesterday. The mood surrounding the body language analysis shifted after law enforcement searched Annie's home for 3 hours. Public perception of the stress, observers noted that Annie's behavior during the police search, specifically her lack of public interaction and the family's general radio silence since the search, as a pivot from their initial plea for help. Again, it would be interesting to see if they, if we don't reach that deadline, which is coming up in the next few hours, 4.5 hours to be exact, 4 hours and 25 minutes to be precise, if Annie is in that video. Because if there's another video released, if there's a statement released, it'll be interesting to see. Also noted, Cameron, he's released a video on his own saying, Mom, we want you to come home. Please, guys, can you just bring her home? Annie has not made any statements other than in the first and initial video on her own. You could say and argue that might not be her thing. You could say and argue, oh, maybe she's just shy. But it's something weird, it's something strange, and you think they would be putting as much effort as they could. Hey, maybe they're gonna hear from us again. Definitely strange. While some folks online theorize that there has been avoidant body language during the search, former law enforcement experts like Jennifer C. emphasize that Annie's family is likely under extreme duress and following legal/police advice by the FBI and others to remain private during an evidence extraction phase. Cameron did a video, so that's saying something. It is important to note, Amy says, that many body language breakdowns circulating on social media, X, YouTube, and TikTok are speculative. Professional analysis caution that Annie Guthrie is currently experiencing a baseline shift due to the extreme trauma. Standard indicators of deception or guilt, such as fidgeting or avoiding eye contact, are also common symptoms of grief and acute stress. And again, she knows she was the last one to see her mother, one of the last ones to see her mother alive, so probably a little bit nervous when it comes to that. And with her mom 1000% for sure being at her home before then, I mean, can you imagine what your mind would be thinking? If you're innocent, you're thinking, dang, what if they can't find her? What if they find something at the house that maybe leans toward it looking like I'm guilty and I didn't have anything to do with this? That's got to be somewhat nerve-wracking. So again, we're going to get into some reports here from Brian Eaton. He's been at the scene as well, covering this not only on his own YouTube channel, but in collaboration with News Nation. And we're actually going to hear from some people and some detectives who were inside and near the home. Check this out.
Appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. I really appreciate all the support. Of course, I'm still in Arizona.
So this is right outside of the home. I got a video I want to show you guys with this as well.
That we've seen here in the past. You can see them out here, right here. And earlier there was actually a team.
I actually personally went to the home myself.
Behind the house, which I'm going to get into in this episode. I'm also going to go over everything that I saw late last night at Annie Guthrie's house.
So I went I live about 10 minutes away from this place from Nancy Guthrie. So I went by, I actually got an interview with JLR, just a small little quick interview with JLR Investigates.
And the deputy showed up there. And I have and this is really helpful, I have a Pima County sheriff's detective who just recently retired.
I don't know.
And he is going to help me break down a lot of what we're seeing. It's all coming up in this episode of Ryan and All right, hey guys. So again, I'm outside Nancy's house. If you're wondering what this big white thing is, this is what we use for our TV hits, and it's so hot out here today. It's so sunny that I was just going to do my my show under this too, because at least it's shady, you know. But it's been there's been a lot of activity over the last 24 hours. Obviously, there was the Savannah Guthrie new video that she made, where she
shout out JLR Investigates too, by the way.
To her and her family. The whole thing is just. I was just talking to one of my colleagues out here. I'm super close to my mom. I'm an only child, and if this was my mom, I would just be wrecked. So
yeah, I can't
strength
imagine.
that Savannah Guthrie is showing is pretty incredible, and so my heart goes out to her and her family. But in terms of the latest and everything that's been happening here outside Nancy Guthrie's house, there's been some action today, and depending on when you're watching this, today is Sunday. There were some deputies that showed up earlier and then were in the backyard or behind Nancy Guthrie's house and opened up like what looked like a manhole cover and then had like a long stick that they were pushing into the manhole cover, which it seems like it's a septic tank. A few of you all messaged me and said you thought that it was a water tank. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, and someone made a great point. Some of the reason that they could be using that pole to get into the water tank is not only to see if there's something there, but to look and see if there's something restricting the water flow. So again, this may go into a theory that's been passed around, in the theory that could be had is that maybe law enforcement believes something happened to Nancy, maybe something fatal in the home, and then, gosh, I don't even want to say this, and then her body was dumped somewhere, possibly in the septic tank, or something was in the septic tank. But there has to be some indication that something was disposed of in or near the home.
One of my sources was telling me normally they would use that.
I disagree.
Again, it sounds kind of graphic, but they would use it to like probe for a body to see if there's anything down there. So they were doing that. That seemed to be their main focus today when they were out here, and they were here for about an hour and then left. And besides that, it's been relatively quiet here at Nancy Guthrie's house, besides just sort of deputies patrolling the area. And they have still been canvassing and going door to door and that kind of thing, just looking for anybody who has any information. There was also a lot of activity last night at Annie Guthrie's house. If you were following me, I was posting a lot on YouTube stories and on TikTok because I was out there late last night. Basically, we got word that there were these 3 deputies that showed up to Annie Guthrie's house. We didn't know, at first I didn't know if they were like FBI or deputies, but when they left, I was able to look and see they had like a deputy logo on their side. They were there for 3 hours. There were three of them, from what I could count. They showed up. They went inside and they had some equipment that they brought inside, and then we could see flashes from inside. We could see light flashes.
Now, if you see light flashes outside of a window and, you know, sheriffs just went into the house of something that just happened, it's a whole crime scene, right? You know, they're obviously in there taking pictures. They're not taking pictures of nothing. So remember, I said they're not telling us a lot. You know what I'm saying? They're definitely keeping the public from knowing a lot. But the worst part about it is you got 20, 30, 40, 50 people sitting out here, and this all media YouTubers outside for 12 hours, 24 hours, a couple days, several days. I don't think anyone knows where to go in this situation. I feel like we're pretty much at a dead end right now, at least publicly. You know, these guys, they might know something. And I think they know something, but they're not telling us something. I think they have something. You cannot have a Ring camera and cameras inside the home and not have nothing. And then they came through with the little device that's, you know, able to retrieve data. You know, I don't know how long that takes. I don't know what the turnaround time is for that device, but they need to start moving the chains here. They already messed up by having to come back. You know, and I do give it to the sheriff for taking accountability for that. I can say I did see one of the sheriffs taking accountability for that. The problem is a sheriff isn't a detective. A sheriff isn't really somebody who, from what I understand, I don't think they work crime. But we need to figure out if Nancy's still alive. We need to figure out something. I mean, come on now. They know something. But how long do you wait before you really start digging? Forget the whole ransom thing. The ransom thing's out. Forget the car. They took the car. You know what I'm saying? They took her car out of her home to obviously do whatever they got to do to find evidence. But from my understanding, she took a Uber to one of the family members' house, and I'm assuming it was Annie's house. I'm not too sure if Savannah lives here. Savannah is the one who has, she's the famous one. And I don't know. They're not saying what. That's why I go back to them not saying a lot, because I feel like at this point they at least know who brought Nancy home that night. There's no way they don't know who brought Nancy home that night. But let's continue.
They were taking pictures inside. It was pretty obvious. At first, they were just taking pictures near the garage area. I could see through the windows, but then I was watching and you could see they were moving throughout the house. They were taking pictures in different parts of the house. They were there for about 3 hours. They had blue gloves on, I noticed, when they came out. And after being there for 3 hours, came out, got in the cars, didn't say a word, and then slowly drove off. So the timing is interesting because, remember, this was happening around the same time or a little bit after that Savannah Guthrie had put her video out, saying that they would be willing to pay. And you can read, you've probably seen the video by now, but what she said was, I wrote down the verbatim. She said, "We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us and we will pay." A lot of people have read into this that they think Nancy is not alive based on what Savannah said there.
I hope that's not the case.
I'm not sure. I mean, we could read into it a million different ways, but it's just tragic, regardless of what way you read into it. And that video came out, and then afterwards is when the deputies showed up at Annie Guthrie's house. What they're looking for there, I don't know. I didn't see them searching outside at all. They seemed pretty focused on the inside. And were they just taking pictures inside? I'm not sure, but it was interesting timing. It was interesting that they came there late at night, and sorry, I'm just checking for one other thing I wanted to tell you.
And I actually want to skip ahead in this video because we actually get an interview that Brian did with someone who's worked in this field and knows and understands not only the area, but the specific case. And
early on, things that the sheriff has admitted to, why did they open up the crime scene so early? So it's interesting to get this insider perspective because he still knows people there and he was there for a very long time, Kurt was. So I want to play this interview that I got with Kurt for you guys. So Kurt, you worked for Pima County Homicide for how long?
7 years total.
And how long were you at the department?
I was at the department for a little over 20 years.
Okay.
Wow.
So thank you for talking to me.
Sure.
Just with your experience and knowing the area locally is really helpful. I just want to start with the most recent thing. Last night I was out there at Annie's house, and we saw 3 deputies come, and they had not a ton of equipment, but one bag and box. They went inside, and they were inside for about 3 hours. Okay. We saw flashes, definitely camera flashes from different rooms in the house. What do you think was happening?
Well, they were obviously sent back there to find something. How that something came about, I don't know. I'm sitting on the outside like you, but it could have been through an interview. It could have been through some of the forensic stuff that they had sent out to be processed. So there's a myriad of reasons why they could have been back there. But suffice to say, at least they were back there, following up and continuing the investigation.
The one I saw was wearing blue gloves.
Okay.
Do you think they were just taking pictures?
Well, I mean, you got to think about it again. It should be treated as a crime scene, whether it's Nancy's house or Annie's house. So you want to make sure that you're not going to leave any evidence that contaminate the scene. So that's why they were wearing gloves, I'm sure. But what they collected, we don't know. Yeah.
I didn't see them. They brought one brown bag out, but he didn't seem like he kind of tossed it in the car. I think it was more maybe what he was, some kind of work he
Sure,
brought,
it could have been, it could have been scraps or garbage. It could have collected, some pieces of evidence in there. Maybe they were fingerprinting, maybe they were collecting DNA, maybe they were simply just taking photographs. And that's the stuff, that they may have brought out. It could have been trash from, their processing, or it could have been pieces of evidence.
Are you surprised that they were just doing that now? I mean, it's been 7 days.
Right. Well, it's not really a surprise if you think of it in the grand scheme of things, where you're furthering an investigation and you're getting more information as it goes. So you may have to go back to the scene of the crime, or other places that you just discovered may have been part of the scene of the crime. I think what my concern is maybe that house should have been processed the same day as the first house. And I don't know if it has been. I don't have any inside information, but from the outside, that's kind of what it looks like, is maybe that stuff wasn't done first and, they had to go back because they did get some type of information.
Would it be normal for just 3 deputies to show up, and they didn't put any crime scene tape up. It kind of seemed low key, whereas like at Nancy's house, when the FBI came back, it was a big production. What does that say?
Well, it doesn't say a whole heck of a lot. You know, it could be those 3 detectives were tasked at a briefing, which they should be having multiple times a day, or at least once a day, daily, because you're getting new information in.
That's exactly what we've been saying. Again, I know we've had a lot of conversation about, well, you know, the sheriff of Pima County, Sheriff Nanos, he's just a figurehead. He's not actually a detective. He's not law enforcement, but one, taking hands-off approach. This was the terrible PR move about what he did. Not only did he say, hey guys, I don't want to answer any more questions, so I'm not talking about this again until we either find out Nancy's dead or she's back. But then after that, he proceeds to attend a nationally televised basketball game while this investigation is going on in a very public way. I mean, you've got YouTubers.
See, for me, I don't really have an issue with that. Even though we do have a lot of people in the social media world, like YouTubers everywhere, they're giving the sheriff a big deal because he was at his son or daughter's basketball game during this whole thing that's going on. I feel like some people get their therapy or their mind works better once they give something a break and then go back to it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like once you take a break from something, with some things you need to take a break from it. So once you take a break from that, I think when you go back to it, things, you know what I'm saying, start, you know, going your way is what I'm really trying to say. But everyone's different. You know, he also does have a life to live. It is work. I don't know. It goes both ways. I'm kind of both ways with it. So I guess, I don't know. Let's just continue.
And people who aren't in law enforcement at all more involved in this than the sheriff is. Not a great look. And you should at least be giving updates on this, because we're seeing and guessing and wondering about information that's readily available just by standing at the crime scene. Why can't we hear from him?
So it could have been simple as, you know, a sergeant or a lieutenant or a captain saying,
somebody
hey, we need to go back to the house and get this. Let's keep it low key. We don't want cause a lot of trouble in the neighborhood. There's already enough ruckus going on, you know, at the other scene. So maybe that's what it was, just to go in low key and not make a big disturbance.
Is the timing strange that they went at night?
No, because you got to go when you find the information. So maybe it was something they just discovered yesterday in the afternoon. They had to have a briefing and formulate a plan, a course of action, and then they went back. So that stuff could happen at any point in time.
You saw the latest message from Savannah?
I saw the message last night.
Yeah. What do you make of it?
Well, again, being from the outside, but using my training and experience, thinking back on the numbers of homicides that I've investigated, I don't think it's going to have a positive outcome, of Nancy being returned alive. I think it was more of, this is just a guess.
I agree.
Thinking it was more of, hey, we intended to bring her back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, circumstances happened, but we still need to get paid.
Dang,
and we'll
I hope that's not the case.
Her remains to you, or let you know where they are for X amount of money. But that's just me. That's just my feeling on what I saw last night. I'm praying and have been praying that she is returned whole and healthy. But last night's video from Miss Guthrie, scared, caused me some concern about that happening.
It's so unusual that we have the video coming out, but then also the search at Annie's house.
Yep.
And could there be multiple theories that they're working at the same time?
Look, I've never seen anything like this. My 7 years in homicide, 20 years as a cop, investigated a couple of kidnappings, but I think for the most part, kidnappings, especially in this local neck of the woods, southwestern Arizona, a lot of it has to do with cartel-related kidnappings, drugs, smuggling,
so a lot of us are
people
saying
smuggling, avocado smuggling, whatever. This is different. I don't think that has anything to do with what this case is. But then again, you could have somebody that jumped on the bandwagon right away, saw what was going on, sent a ransom note, just trying to extort money from Miss Guthrie and her family, like we did with the one or two others, one of which, was arrested. And they could be a red herring. And they're still trying to figure out where she is. So yeah,
that's true.
The area where this happened, I mean, Annie lives 10 minutes from Nancy. You live right in this area, so
Yes.
you're very familiar with the area. Is it a quiet area normally? I mean,
Nancy's and
Annie's.
yeah, absolutely. This is an extremely quiet neck of the woods. I mean, most of the houses are on 1 acre lots. This whole area was bought by the Genemattis family back in, I think, the 40s, and then subdivided the lots, and that's where it is.
This
It's not
guy's
like
a great interview.
City proper, city of Tucson. We're on the outskirts. We're in the city. Everything's bunched up next to each other. So yeah, it's very peaceful. The type of crimes that occur up here are car break-ins, burglaries. Obviously, we've had a few homicides throughout the years. We have a lot of transients that live in the area, a lot of sex offenders that are in this neck of the woods. So it's very quiet, but there is that underlying criminal element that every once in a while will rear its ugly head.
Would it be an easy place to get away from? I mean, it's very dark out there at night.
It's extremely dark on this side of town. It would be extremely easy to commit a crime and get away. You have a lot of avenues of approach. In Annie's neighborhood, much like mine and Nancy's, there's multiple routes to come in and come out. So we have a main thoroughfare here, Oracle Road. The highway is 4 miles to the west of us, down Ina or Orange Grove or River Road. I don't know how many traffic cameras. I see we have a couple here, but they're not monitored by law enforcement. They're monitored by the DOT, the Department of Transportation, to monitor the traffic. And I don't know how long they hold video in the cloud or whatever. But those are some things that I would be looking at.
And again, it seemed like when they had the press conference and when certain information was let out by TMZ and other sources, it seemed intentional, and maybe that the FBI, maybe the local police force, was trying to get whoever has Nancy kidnapped or whoever is holding her hostage to be on the move, and maybe to try and relocate, and they could get caught in that way. Because giving out all this information on how they're going to look for them, how they're going to find them, how they know where approximately they would be if they took Nancy, it seemed kind of foolish. And to me, if you're someone watching this and you're holding someone hostage, you might be like, they're on to us. Maybe we need to make a move.
Avenue of escape. The highway is right here. The main freeway is right over there. So there's cameras abound. It's just whether or not we're able to.
Okay, that's not true. Okay, like I told y'all, I live 10 minutes down the road. The highway is probably roughly about a good 10 to 12 minutes away from where Nancy Guthrie lives. The highway is nowhere near. She lives pretty deep into. I wouldn't say deep. I would say almost mid, but not quite midtown. Let's not even say that. She lives in the foothills, though, okay? And we all know if somebody lives in the foothills, it's 9 times out of 10, it ain't close to the freeway. Come on now, stop, bro. I don't know why he just said it's close to the highway. The highway, he must be talking about the Oracle Highway. There is the Oracle Highway. So, I mean, but that ain't really a highway. But it does turn into a highway at some point. But that's way further down the line. But it's still considered a highway regardless, I guess. So I guess he's right. Let me stop. Let's continue.
Get access to them and see if there's anything on there.
You were on the inside for a long time here. You know Pima County.
Yes, sir.
They've been under the microscope. A lot of people are questioning things that they've done. Do you think they're prepared for this?
Well, look, when you're conducting an investigation such as this, there's a lot of things that can go right and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You're getting bombarded. I mean, I can't even imagine. I worked the Gabby Gifford's case. I was in homicide at that time. I was at the Safeway for nearly a week.
Wow.
And the amount of tips that come in, they range from the wackadoo to what you think would be normal. Psychics, you're just getting bombarded with those things, and you have to suss your way through that to determine, what you're going to follow up on and what you're not. I think at the Sheriff's Department in the past, few years since I left, there's been a mass exodus, which has drained the department of experience. I've heard things, whether they're true or not, it's just information that I've heard, is that the average experience for a patrol deputy is like 3 years. And that's a baby cop, right? A year in academy and field training, and now you're out on the street. Mistakes are going to be made, and I think that has happened. The same thing in the homicide unit is all of the tenured men and women that work there that had years and years of homicide experience working half of what the city of Tucson got every year. So we're looking at between 15 to 20 homicides a year. We used to investigate when I was in. Now they're averaging in the county maybe 4 or 5 a year.
Wow.
And the detectives that are in homicide, that makes them less experienced because they're not having the exposure to real life homicides.
And that's a great point he makes, because someone just mentioned this in the chat. It seems like a lot of this and a lot of the issues that they're having is due to lack of experience. If you're having 4 to 5 homicides a year, that's great for Pima County, and shout out to them. But that would explain a lot of why the sheriff, I don't know how long Sheriff Nanos has been there, why he's moving the way he's moved, why they had the issues with the crime scene, why homicide was brought in so early, and why the FBI eventually took over this crime scene. He's saying they're a mess.
Just because you're in homicide doesn't mean you're the case ace, but you're going to get experience by going out and interviewing, looking for evidence, downloading videos, you know, reaching out and getting subpoenas or search warrants. And I think that that experience or lack thereof, you know, has shed its light on this case. That being said, I do know that, you know, the detectives and the deputies that work for the sheriff's department here are top notch. They're very level-headed, they're very knowledgeable, but only to a certain extent.
Were you surprised to see the crime scene cleared so quickly? Because I mean, we were able to walk up and see the blood, and I thought, gosh, they'll have this, you know, at least one.
Yeah, I thought that was one thing they shouldn't have did, was let us be able to just simply walk up and see the blood. Like, we literally got to see something that, like, for me, like, I feel like it should still be taped off. Like, you know, maybe not up to now, but it should have been as taped off for a very much longer time than it was initially when they first taped the whole house off. But I don't think we as the people should have been able to just walk up to the door and see the blood at the door. Like, you know, that's all part of a crime scene, and now they just ruined it. Now they just ruined it. I don't even know if that holds any value in court, and I forgot what it's called. I can't remember what you call that. But like I said, I don't think we should have been able to go up there and just look at the blood. Like, I don't know, man. They really messed up on this one, dog. They really did, and it's unfortunate because we got somebody out there missing and who truly deserves to be home with her family. And we can't blame this on the sheriff, but if they don't know something, it just don't make no sense to me. And they try to say this is a part of the Epstein thing. I mean, this is just getting crazy, bro. Like, how is this related to the Epstein thing? Apparently, I want to say it's Annie. I think her husband is apparently good friends with Epstein, or was good friends with Epstein. I don't know, man. Let me know what y'all heard, if you heard anything different.
I mean, with tape up for like a week, the fact that it was just a couple of days.
Well,
not even a couple of days.
Yeah. So when we get a search warrant so we'll take the Gabby Giffords, for example. We were up there for an entire week. We closed down the entire shopping center. Businesses, you know, were being affected. And as the week went on, you know, businesses started coming back and they started opening up. So you want to work from the outside and close down the scene until you get to the scene proper, and then, you know, you're going to stay there for a while. And that's what we did up there. With Nancy's, I don't know how long they had, you know, control of the scene. I do know that they relinquished the scene
like a
and turned
day.
it back over to the family. It's not out of the ordinary, but I think that there were some things that were left at that scene based on what I've noticed on TV. You know, Nancy's car,
the blood,
until a couple of days ago.
Yep.
A couple of days ago, the FBI and the sheriff's department were back out there. They were on the roof, and they allegedly, you know, got a camera and a couple floodlights that may or may not have had cameras. So those are things that I know I would have been done, and my team would have.
Right. Isn't that the funny part? Why wouldn't they take that the first time? Why the most common and easiest thing that you look for first is cameras. And if you're collecting at a crime scene, that's one of the first things that you would take. Not only that, going back to the blood that, you know, they're showing like it's nothing on live television and on every other platform we've seen. They could have some type of officer there. Now there is in place, but at first there wasn't, you know, guarding the crime scene, because it's a crime scene, right? You can't just walk into a crime scene and scavenge around and look around, but you did. You had people in people's backyards. You know, there's a $50,000 reward for crying out loud, and I think the reward only wants information, but I could be wrong. But I think from what I saw, they only want just information. For $50,000, I'm definitely going to somebody's backyard. If I can find just a little something for 50 racks, I'm doing it. But I think it's more referred to you actually finding the missing person, which is Nancy Guthrie. So I don't know. But like he's saying here in the video, they definitely made a huge mistake, and it's too common for them to not, you know, be able to do the simple things like check the cameras. And he's saying in his line of work, he would have done that right away. Him and his team wouldn't have missed something like that. So that's what's quite odd to me as well. Very odd.
Taken care of. So if you're going to relinquish a crime scene within, you know, that short amount of time, you best make sure that everything that you should have gotten, you did get. And
yeah, and again, even when it comes to going into Annie's home, again, the first person we all thought of was, wait a second, she was at her relative's house the night before she disappeared. Why wasn't that investigated? They just started investigating and looking into Annie and her husband and their house in the last 48 hours. Made no sense. Again, I agree with him here. It seems like there is a lot of information that was left out and a lack of experience on their part as well, even the way the sheriff has been handling these press conferences. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
What a video, bro. What a video. What a video, guys.
With this investigation into Annie and her home specifically.
What a video.
And hopefully we'll hear some good news.
So I got another video I want to share with y'all. I thought I would share that one just because I think that was crazy, dog. I think that's a different way to, you know, it's just a whole completely different outlook. I think just going back and looking at Annie, it just definitely could change your perception on things. But you know how the media can put something together and just off a picture alone could easily change your perception on the way you look at something. But I mean, if you look at Annie and just the way she's been looking in some of these videos, it's highly, highly questionable, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's very questionable. You know, just going back to even in the beginning when they're sitting down, you know, and they were responding to, you know, the kidnapper or murderer. We don't know what that person is at this point because we don't even know who that is, you know. But just going back and even looking the way I feel like she looks like she's trying to grieve and she just can't find it. You know, somebody trying to make it look like she's trying to cover something up. It's just not given. Someone sad like about their mom, just like look at her. If you really look at her, and I don't wish nothing bad upon a family like this, but I am a very, very observant guy, and when I read body language, I read it well. I'm not gonna lie to you. And just looking at her body language, I'm not liking something, bro. Something is not giving me a good vibe, and it's kind of scary, bro. I actually ain't gonna lie. I looked at my door a couple of times because I don't even know if I should be covering this anymore. Like, this is crazy, bro. This is 10 minutes down the street from me, bro. This is crazy to me. This is crazy. Anyway, guys, that's enough of that. I want to try to get into another video real quick, so I'm running out of time. I really got to go to sleep. because I do got to work in the morning, and yeah, my girl want me to lay down, so you know it's time to lay down. I ran into JLR Investigates. I'm kind of new to this media thing in the media world. I'm just trying to try something new for the channel. And you know, we'll see how it goes, but I ran into JLR. I just wanted to run something by y'all real quick, because he's been there for the past day or two, and for hours. It's one of the guys that's been out there in front of Nancy Guthrie's home, along with a lot of many other people, and as far as news channels, you know, bloggers or YouTubers, whatever you want to call it. This guy right here
JLR Investigates
has been in front of the house the past couple of days.
Nancy Guthrie's home. It is a media circus. There is more media here today than there was the last couple of days. Media is camped out here all over the place. Look at the cars. They go all the way down the street.
So one thing I did want to show y'all was what it looks like at night. Because it's, first of all, we got coyotes. What else we got out here? We got javelinas out here. But yeah, those two things I know for sure. I don't want to say nothing else, but we do got snakes. That's another thing. But those main things you do kind of want to look out for at night, and it will scare the out of you, you know, for real. A coyote and a big old javelina. Like they were saying, there's not really a super close intersection with a light to her home. I want to say that's about a half a mile out. Maybe a little less than that, if not more. I'm not too sure. But I did go out there. The light wasn't as close as I thought it would be. It is a very, very dark place at night. And I'm about to show y'all what it looks like at night in just a second.
We're going to talk about this case, bring public awareness, see what happens today in Tucson, Arizona. I am in Pima County, across the street from Nancy Guthrie's.
That's her home.
We're going to put the camera up, and we're going to share in real time what's going on, see the latest developments. I will say there is more media here today than any other day. They keep arriving, they keep arriving. So you want to see what's going on? This is the channel to be at. JLR Investigates. This is the channel to be at. But yeah, I'm going to spin the camera
Indeed,
around.
plug in with JLR.
We're going to plan up. We're going to put the tripod. We're going to sit out here and see what's going on and what today brings, right? Ransom deadline due today, right? 5 p.m. today, the deadline. What's going to happen with that? FBI director.
Look at that media out there. They doing this to us, by the way. They're doing this to us, bro. These people don't really got to be out there like they're out there, bro. They don't. They really don't. But because of everything going on, they got us all twisted up, bro. But I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. I'm going to be honest, bro, and I'm going to give my opinion because everybody deserves it. I think she's gone. I think whoever took her knew her, and they took her medication. They may have, we don't even know if they took her medication, but we're hoping that, I'm going to keep my high hopes, and I hope that they did. I know it is definitely somebody out there that knows Nancy Guthrie very, very well. They knew the home very well because they knew where all the cameras were. They took the Ring camera. Whoever wrote this ransom letter, I don't know. I don't want to spin everybody around with the ransom letter, but they did, you know, from what I'm hearing, had very good grammar, which made them look very, very smart. And they almost wrote that perfectly from what I'm hearing. So, I mean, I just want days to go by because I really want to know something at this point, because we are really at a dead end. And I just really hope these detectives, whomever is on this case, or because it's about to be a case. This is a Netflix movie, y'all. This is literally a Netflix movie. But FBI's, whoever's on this case, dog, I really hope they dig deep enough to really figure this thing out, dude.
Cash Patel is supposed to be in Tucson. I think he's supposed to be on another matter. However, he might address this situation. I was in front of Annie and Tommaso's home this morning, quiet as a mouse. No one was out there. No one was out there. So no one was out in front of Annie and Tommaso's home except a private security person parked in the driveway and one media person. Nothing. The house is completely empty. Nothing. This is where all the action is. This is where all the action is out here. So just spin the camera around.
Because no one knows anything.
And we'll just talk, share information, and see what it brings. Appreciate you all in the chat. JLR Investigates. Back out.
So this is a 12-hour stream, by the way, guys. So we're definitely not going to sit there for 12 hours and watch it.
The sun has not even came up yet. So let me get situated here. I'm just going to put this right here.
This man was out here early in the morning.
What today brings.
In front of Nancy Guthrie's home. All right.
Safe. Hopefully.
I want to skip to the end because I want you guys to really see what it looks like at night outside of her home. And how dark it really is. And how scary that really is. Just imagine, bro. Just imagine. You're deep into the foothills. You know how it is when you're going in a rich neighborhood and you got to go through a bunch of different roads and hills to get to that person's house. Well, that's kind of like what it's like being in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood and being where she lives at.
Ginger Snaps again says Savannah's hubby is a Clinton cleaner. Look, he's coming back. Flashlight. Is this what they're talking about? Property searches?
So this is right outside of Nancy Guthrie's home.
Thank you.
Pretty big house. I mean, it's not a big, super big house. From right here, it's like a $1.7 million home, I think. You could correct me if I'm wrong. But it's a fairly decent sized house for sure.
He's patrolling the property.
Look at how dark it is out there, guys. There's no street lights. You know how in some of your neighborhoods you got street lights. There's none in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. None. In fact, when I drive through there at night, because I do Instacart sometimes, I used to do Uber Eats, my brights are on at all times. Straight up.
Doing rounds. But look how dark it is.
All times.
It shows you, like, even with a flashlight, just imagine the kidnapper here at night like this.
What I just said.
That's crazy. Like, from the road, you wouldn't even see it, really, right? Let's see him come back. It's her home at night. Now watch the flashlight. Look. Here he comes.
Look at how dark it is and how easy it would be for a killer or a kidnapper to just take you and vanish at her house. Just imagine, bro. Just take a second and think about that, bro. And just imagine. Put yourself there. We're not even near. I'm sure it's more scarier being there. But just even watching it from this point of view is scary, bro. The shot itself is just scary, dog.
There he is.
You really don't see a person until they get too close.
That's creepy, man. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. And this house couldn't have been in a worse spot, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this house could not be in a worse spot. Just simply because it's facing no one. It's facing nobody. The houses are so separated from one another that the only person that could possibly see her is in the back of her home. And obviously somebody in the back of your home that can't see your front door isn't going to do you any justice if they see something happen to you, right? There's no way. Absolutely no way, dude. I mean, this is just bad, guys. It really is. It's just a sad thing, man. It's unfortunate, but I'm going to be honest. I really want to stay hopeful on this, but I'm more so starting to lean toward Nancy Guthrie being gone at this point. I just hope, if that is the case, that this family is able to at least figure that out, to get some type of closure here, you know. And that's not the closure that we're looking for. We don't want to find out that, you know, Nancy Guthrie is somewhere dead. I don't want that to be the case. I'm praying that that's not the case, but what can we do? What can we do if it is, you know? I just hope that they find this person, and we got good enough detectives to dig deep enough to figure out what's going on. They know a lot. They do. They're not telling us a lot. I got one more video. I got several other videos I want to show y'all, but I'm running out of time, so we're going to cut it short here. And I'm going to just share this video with y'all because I didn't get to share with y'all the video that the daughter, Savannah Guthrie, put out today. Let me run that. Let's talk about this a little bit. Don't forget, if you're locked in right now, to like the stream, subscribe to my channel. I'll be in tune to this every single day. I am going to start doing reaction videos. You could also follow me on Instagram at The Juice. You can see it at the top. Real simple, guys, and it's easy to do. You know why? Because it's free. Run that video, god damn it.
Out. Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and
I don't know why, guys, but for whatever reason,
and that our mom has
the
felt.
video starts off. I don't know why it started. Oh, okay. Run it back. I don't know why it started off like if it was black.
Hi there, everybody.
Here we go.
I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers.
First of all, she looks calm. I don't know if this is Savannah putting on her journalist persona that, you know, she has, but she definitely looks calm. She does look like she's still very much so very stressed and overwhelmed. She is on a lot more older side than I expected to, but that's beside the point. But she definitely seems like she's a little bit more at peace than she was just a few days ago. Shall we continue?
And the love that I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help. We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Breaking news, Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, missing day 9. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Let's take a listen to Savannah's recent plea one more time.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Joining me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we are.
Do you really think Savannah even has $6 million? Like, let's be real. Did the very famous show that she's on, which is today, tell Savannah maybe that they would cover the fee or cost if there was actually an address to send the money to, because this person that's holding Savannah's mother, Nancy Guthrie, for ransom, had they put an address out, there would have been so many people. There's millions of people, I'm sure, covering this, not covering this, but in tune to this, and thousands of people covering this. There's absolutely no way in hell that she wouldn't have got somewhere close with all of this support and all of these people in tune to this. I think we would have got real close to making that mark of whatever needed to be funded as far as this person getting the bitcoins that they wanted. I don't know, but the unfortunate part is there was really no response from whoever it is that is holding Nancy Guthrie for ransom. So we didn't make it that far. Today we're at a dead end. Let's continue the video, man.
We're learning right now. Dave Mack joining me, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Dave, I'm hanging on one word because at first I was thrown off horribly when I heard celebrate. I thought celebration of life.
Yeah, like what is she referring to? But at the same time, why does she need to be specific? At the same time, why does she owe us that? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Nancy.
No, her mother has passed on. No, it was celebrate with her. to suggest Savannah believes her mother can come home and they can celebrate that homecoming with her. Tell me about this most recent plea, Dave Mack.
I could agree with that.
Your friend Savannah Guthrie issuing this plea earlier on Instagram saying we are at our hour of desperation is something that none of us thought we would get to, but here we are waiting for somebody to say something, and that's all Savannah Guthrie is asking for her family. Somebody knows something, somebody say something, please. She's saying in that video, we need your help.
Another issue that has been brought up is Savannah says, I got your message. Let's play it one more time.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
Yeah,
this is very valuable to us.
Like, who is she talking about? I mean, who is she talking to? Like, real talk. Who is she talking to? I guess the random person that they don't know about, they don't know either, that they haven't been in contact with either. For all we know, they have. But I guess that's who they're referring to, or that's who she's referring to.
And
your message. Let's play it one more time.
We received your message and we understand.
There's a lot to question in this video.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
But I think the easiest thing to do is criticize every single one of these guys that are in this video right here. I think it's easy to criticize anything in this whole thing that's going on. So, I don't know.
Mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us. And we will pay.
I'm just telling you right now to Janine Driver joining us, body language expert, CEO of the Body Language Institute. She's a New York Times best-selling author of You Say More Than You Think and You Can't Lie to Me. She is the star of a hit podcast, In the Driver's Seat with Janine Driver. Janine, I know Savannah, and that is not Savannah's vernacular. That is not how she speaks. And she can ad-lib all day. She doesn't need a script. You know, a lot of talking heads, if you take away their script, they're like, the what? What now? What am I supposed to say something? That's not her. She's a lawyer by training. So if you noticed, at one point she glanced down. She paused and glanced down and looked up and continued. My point is, this is a script. It has been created between her brother and sister, and law enforcement, because for her to say, this is valuable to us. What does that even mean? But she's hitting on key words and phraseology that means something.
Yes, this is what's a lot. You're smart as a cookie here, Nancy. I have been interviewed by Savannah numerous times on the Today Show, at least 10, 11, 12 times, and I agree. She is smart, she's quick, even when the cameras are off, she is connected, she's in the here and now. The word she's using there when she's pausing is understand. There's something in law enforcement and in sales called embedded commands. Embedded commands are words we use that get to other people's subconscious. Hey, Fred Rogers did this when he went up on the hill to try to get $25 million for PBS. He told a story, a song that gave embedded commands to Senator Pastore, and he walked out with that money. Embedded commands are messages, and we pause before and after. The words we're hearing Savannah do before and after these pauses: beg, celebrate, peace, valuable, we will pay. We understand is really maybe a potential message to the captors. Understand, we are listening. Listen, here's the deal. It's called compliance psychology. Captors who see hostages as valuable to future emotional moments are less likely to harm them. So that's why we get that word celebrate, right? It's the safest message to the captors. These embedded commands happen, and she is smart. She's leaning forward, which is called the sprinter's pose. It says, I am paying attention. This is not how she would normally be on the Today Show. She'd be sitting up and composed. This is strategic. They are talking directly to the captors, not for them, but for Nancy, for their mom.
Janine Driver, I've got to get you to slowly repeat what you just said, because everything you said is so intriguing about embedded command, the keywords: celebrate, peace, valuable, the pause before and after certain keywords, the way that Savannah is leaning forward. Like when you watch her, and in real life, that's not how she talks at all. And even on the Today Show, she's so comfortable in front of a camera and with all of the guests, doesn't matter who they are, what walk of life. She's very, she converses very normally, conversationally. That's not what we're seeing. Okay, give me your analysis again. And could you please run Savannah on mute as Janine Driver is talking so we can see what she is explaining? Okay, go ahead, Janine.
These word choices to the untrained ear might mean very little or might mean something different. An embedded command is a message that is going to the subconscious level. That's why when you say to your kids, don't run in the kitchen, don't run in the kitchen, the embedded command is the action word, run in the kitchen. Your kid runs in the kitchen and they don't even know why they're there because you just hypnotize them. These embedded commands, Nancy, are beg, celebrate, peace, valuable, understand. It's not just us understanding, it's will you understand, captor, valuable, we will pay. The body language and the pausing is important. Law enforcement knows this. I teach it in sales to top salespeople. I use it as a parent to get my kids to cooperate. And if anyone wants to know what embedded command is, go on YouTube, look up Fred Rogers going to the Hill, and in 6.5 minutes with embedded commands, Nancy, Senator Pastore goes, go ahead, Rogers, go ahead. 6.5 minutes later, because of embedded commands in a song, Fred Rogers says, hey, a boy becomes a man when he changes his mind. So he's giving an embedded command to Senator Pastore, change your mind. And he does. In 6.5 minutes, he walks out with $25 million. And Senator Pastore says, I haven't had goosebumps in weeks. And you just gave me goosebumps. That's what I think is happening here. It is strategic, talking to the captors. Embedded commands are messages to their brain, the action. Understand, this is not normal Savannah. Again, I've been interviewed by her numerous times.
And remember, the guy that they said sent that ransom letter was a very, very smart and intelligent guy. So if that's the case, then he's going to understand a majority of this stuff. Not to say that he's someone like this lady who's being spoken to right now, who definitely is a professional in reading body language. Not to say he's going to understand it and be able to dissect it the way she can. However, you know, to the certain extent, you know, he's going to be able to understand this enough, and psychologically he's going to do a lot of the things that she's saying this is supposed to provoke. But I don't know. I think either way Savannah would have put this, I think it would have been criticized in so many ways, just like it is now. So it's really hard to say.
It's not we're doing this or they're doing this for the hostage negotiators to feel good. It's because Nancy deserves this. It is messages for them to send her home. We will pay. It's removing.
Janine, what were you saying about the word valuable?
Valuable is humanizing the hostage. And research has shown captors who see the hostage as valuable to future emotional moments are less likely to harm them. So TikTok and social media is going crazy. Oh, she's already dead because we want to have this valuable moment. I don't think that's this. I think it's compliance psychology. Captors who see the hostage as valuable to future emotional moments are less likely to harm them.
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to soak in everything that you just said. I'm going to let it percolate because that was a lot. Joining me, in addition to Dave Mack from Crime Stories and Janine Driver, body language expert, also with us, Scott Eicher, a founding member of the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team. Not only that, former police officer, homicide detective with Norfolk, Virginia Police Department, all in 12 years. Question to you, Scott Eicher. A lot was done at Nancy Guthrie's home again. I was just breaking this down before I got with you. It could either be two things. If we could roll that footage of the investigators up on her roof, I see two things. One, when you don't know a horse, look at his track record. They've already gone out there, released the scene, and went rut-row, and then gone back to the scene a couple of times. Is this just another incident like that? This is from our friends at Fox News flight team, by the way.
So I believe she had a camera. They're saying she had a camera in the back, by the way. I believe they're saying that camera that she had is for the wildlife, to my understanding. That was just a guess that they took, but who knows what that camera's for. I think it's simply just for her backyard, so she could see what's going on in her backyard. Like, why wouldn't you put a camera in the back if you got cameras in the front? It just don't make no sense. I'm trying to figure out if she actually has a guest house, because it looks like this is a guest house to me in the back right corner. I'm not 100% sure, though. I know for certain we've seen a pool. She definitely got a pool. However, I'm not too sure what that little building is in the back, though.
Or did they get information that led them up to the roof? And what we believe they took, and Dave Mack is familiar with this device, is a surveillance camera that is solar powered. Now, if it's connected to Nest, which we think Nancy Guthrie had, you have to have a third party, a third device to make it work. And she did have the solar powered device up there. So either they got information about it, or they're just going back and covering their tracks again for the third or fourth time. What do you make of that, Eicher?
Well, I make several different things of it. First of all, the initial report was that she was missing. So initial officers, the sheriff's department going there, they're looking for her, right? They're searching the area quickly. They're going through the property quickly. They're trying to just find maybe a wandered away person. As things progressed and we got ransom notes, the days went on and on and on. Now it's time to go back to that property again and really do a detailed search. Front, back, sideways, upstairs, downstairs, roofs, everything. So that camera that you were talking about, I don't know if that was, missed the first time the officers were there, but they did find it, and it appeared to be a solar-powered Nest camera or a camera. We know that they did not have a subscription, so they can't go back and look at the film or pictures historically, but hopefully they might be able to get something off the device. I have Nest cameras, and I do have a subscription, so I can go back and look, but it appears that they did not have that right there and then. So getting more detailed at the crime scene is important.
See, that's the funny part to me. That's super, super weird. I'm 84 years old, right? My daughter's pretty well off. She's got a very good, substantial amount of money, enough for me, if I need the help, she could pay my subscription or help me out with a bill, in other words. But 9 times out of 10, I'm living in the foothills, so that means I do, I understand it doesn't matter where we live. Doesn't matter what we have. It doesn't matter how wealthy we look. We all can struggle. I honestly want to say I don't think Nancy was in a position to where she was struggling and she wasn't able to afford her subscription for her Ring camera or the cameras in the home, because they're saying that the cameras in the home only were able to go back 8 hours because they didn't pay for the subscription. That is a little bit odd to me. I don't see a woman that's elderly at a point in her life, especially living in the foothills, not be able to pay her subscription. And I think I'm going to take a guesstimation on how much that would be for a monthly subscription. Let's just go by year. I think it would be no more than $100 to $200 a year for a monthly subscription on any platform, as far as you paying for a subscription for cameras, whether that's being on a Ring camera for a doorbell, cameras outside a home or within. So that is a very, 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 very odd thing to me. So whoever went in this home knew this home very well, and they were very smart. And they just took us on a wild goose trail for about a week and some change. And if they didn't, they were lucky enough for whoever did this to stir the pot. I don't know, man. This is a really, really crazy situation, but this is definitely some Netflix material type shit.
And look, but it appears that they did not have that right there and then. So getting more detailed at the crime scene is important. When the sheriff's department goes there, they are very limited on what they have. They have to work still answering 911 calls. They still have to service the community. Plus, this national kidnapping event has probably turned them upside down. So having the FBI come in and help them take over a lot of this minute, long-term, looking at every little bit is very helpful to the sheriff's department.
Well, Dave Mack, investigative reporter, Crime Stories. And Dave, you ferreted out why they went back to the roof, and they've had a lot of missteps, to put it mildly. But typically, when cops go search the scene, they don't go up on the roof. So I'm not faulting them for not looking on the roof to start with. That said, Dave Mack, why do you believe they went back to the roof?
They actually went there because a neighbor was viewing some of the aerial footage, watching the coverage of what was happening with Nancy Guthrie, and she noticed that these roofs are flat. It's a common thing in the Southwest to have a flat roof, and the neighborhood roofs are flat. They tend to get dirty fairly quickly as well. And this neighbor noticed that Nancy Guthrie's roof was really, really white, very, very clean. It looked like...
Hold on. I want to say this is probably them. Maybe these are the grandkids. Okay, these are probably the grandkids. Maybe Savannah has kids. I'm not too sure. So that's probably why their faces are covered. I was going to say, if that's Savannah or Annie, why the hell is their face covered? But let me not get distracted here. Let's continue.
They have just been scrubbed, and it's been raining there a lot over the last couple of weeks. So for it to be so white and clean, it just seemed out of place. None of the other roofs are that color, and didn't see why Nancy's was, and that's why she saw on that roof that there was something on top and notified authorities, and that's when they said, oh, yeah, we'll go back up and check. And, Nancy, the fact that they got what they were referring to as an electronic device, which we all know is a camera, and they pulled the solar panel with it, that's indicative that it was being powered by solar. It wasn't being powered by the other electrical outlets in the house.
Hi.
My man, is it Candy? I'm just going to cut it short and say Candy. I'm going to say the last four of the name here. I'm going to say Russell, man. What's up, Russell, by the way? Russell says, why was the garage door being opened and closed when Nancy's car wasn't driven? What door did Nancy use when dropped off? Did the family member walk her to the door? She couldn't walk by herself hardly. So I work in a long-term, short-term care facility. I do physical therapy, and one of my biggest jobs is transferring patients. And one of the things I do with them is walk with them, and they're limited. I also Hoyer patients who are not independent. So I'm very good when it comes to that. And I'm going to tell you right now, somebody that can walk around with a cane is considered a very independent person. So we got to stop overthinking this. If she had a cane, she was a very independent person, okay? She definitely didn't need a lot of assistance walking. Even when you have, a lot of times when you have a 4-wheel or a 2-wheel walker, you are considered more independent than others and independent enough to get yourself around. But normally when you have the four-wheel walker, you can't really walk for a substantial amount of time. A lot of those people have to take breaks after a decent period of time. But with somebody as opposed to Nancy Guthrie, she had a cane. So with the cane, she definitely, I'm 100% positive she could get around very well by herself without any assistance. Just think about it. You have a cane, and it's normally for people who have, you know, really awkward limps or really bad limps, or, you know, they have very minimal weight bearing that they can bear on a certain leg. So they use the cane to, you know, shift the weight on that one side to give less weight on the side that isn't as dominant as the dominant side. You know what I'm saying? So she was most definitely very, very well independent for sure, and could get around very well with the cane, and didn't really, I don't think, needed any assistance. Remember, she got in the Uber and went to the family member's house. Didn't need help walking to the Uber car. I'm sure that she didn't text the Uber driver and say, hey, can you help me get to this car so I can get over here, get in the car? She could have. And maybe for all I know, there's a handicap Uber, but no, she very much well so is an independent lady due to the fact that she has a cane. Trust me, I work in that environment every single day, Monday through Friday. Rhonda says, rich or poor, I can't imagine having your own mother missing for 8+ days. How are you suppressed act in this situation? Is it suppressed act in this situation and searching your sibling house twice? Repossesses sister's car. I don't know if I heard about that one as far as the sister's car being repossessed. If that's what you're saying. Yeah, for me personally, I couldn't imagine my mom missing. I would go crazy. The self-control that Savannah has is insane. The self-control that the sister has and the brother has, they have very good self-control right now, because if it was me, I'm on social media every day. I'm just going crazy. 1 minute I might be trying to confront my family members, like, tell me something. I know you know something, you know. And then the other days, I don't know. From what I'm hearing, though, they are all together, you know, so I don't think anybody's questioning or judging one another, because I'm hearing that Savannah is up in a $1.3 million Airbnb. Correct me or quote me. Don't quote me on it, because I could be wrong, but I have been in tune to a lot of videos today, and that was one of the things that I did over here. And I'm certainly sure Savannah's somewhere in a hotel, just or at an Airbnb. I don't think she would be at a hotel, at an Airbnb, because of all the media attention that they're getting right now. But where do we go from here, guys? Like, that's the biggest question. Like, we're really at a dead end. Like, where do we go from here? As far as the car situation, I don't feel like they're going to find anything. And I don't really understand the purpose and intent for them taking the car. Just considering we're already aware that she didn't drive anywhere at any point in time. But just to check, man. If you're going to check or investigate something like this, check everything. The fact that they have to keep going back is really, really making our sheriff department, the FBI, who's ever in on this, it's just making them look awful right now. Like, they look terrible. They look like they don't even know what they're doing. It feels like, for the first time in my life, I can honestly say ever, it really feels like we're doing more of the investigation. We as the people are doing more of the investigation than the FBI and whoever is in on this. Detectives, whatever. Let's continue the video, though.
Guys, Nancy Grace here. Between the grocery store and insurance premiums, even with a steady job, more families are being forced to rely on high-interest credit cards just to cover expenses. If you're a homeowner, the low-cost delays America's Home 880. Joining us now, Brian Fitzgibbons, Director Operations, USPA Nationwide Security. He leads a team of investigators around the world looking for missing people. Brian, question. We know that the law enforcement went back to not only Nancy's home, Nancy Guthrie, who was missing, but her daughter Annie's home. But I want to go back to Nancy's home before I move on to daughter Annie's home. We also know that they searched a septic tank in Nancy Guthrie's backyard. Now, for city dwellers that have, as we call it, city water, I grew up hearing, we don't have city water. City water and city septic go together, and that means that your local municipality pipes in your water, your fluoridated water, and handles your septic. Out in the country or remote areas, you're not on city water. You have a septic tank in the backyard. So let's see that footage or photos of LE law enforcement looking in the septic tank. What are you seeing, Brian Fitzgibbons?
Yeah, so this is attached to the septic system to Nancy's house. And what you see here are a couple investigators. He's got a rather long pole, which probably has some kind of device to illuminate what's down there on the end of it. And what I read into this, Nancy, is, you know, now that the FBI has taken over this case, you have more resources. You have combined very high IQ in that room with a ton of experience, and they're crossing off every single thing that needs to be done and needs to be ruled out. So, you know, those agents have said this is on the list of things to do. We need to check this. And with the advanced support and more resources, they're checking every single box here.
It could be Brian Fitzgibbons, who I might add is a former Marine and Iraqi war vet. This video is from our friends at Fox News Flight Team. Thank you, Flight Team. I think it's two things again. One, either they got intel that they need to go search the septic tank, which is not good. Or two, in the midst of the investigation, when they're retracing everything they've already done, they get word, hey, she's got a septic tank. Have you searched it? And they're like, ruh-roh, and go back out and search. The pole that we are seeing them use, you stated it may have a light on the end of it. What about a camera? Do you believe there could be a camera fixed on there?
He actually, in the video that I saw, he actually had two separate devices that went down in there. One might have been more to probe inside of that tank, and then another smaller one to illuminate or use a camera. I couldn't tell you exactly what happened there, but what I will say
looks like he's looking around down in there right now. The video we're showing, Brian, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like they have a way to look down in there. Of course, they had to be looking just to double check that there's not a body there. But also, you know, I've had people, interested viewers, writing in on Insta, Facebook, Twitter, stating that it should be searched in case the perp flushed something down the commode, evidence, a knife, I don't know, it could be anything. And it's possible. So they were doing their due diligence. That's how I see it. I did not see them take anything out of the septic tank.
Yeah, I did not see that either, and I agree that this is a case that, you know, with these advanced resources and, you know, a ready supply of federal agents, they are going to make sure that no stone is left unturned at that crime scene.
And of course, dogs were brought out at the get-go, and I imagine they were scent dogs and cadaver dogs. If a body had been put in the septic tank, the cadaver dog would have gone straight to it. So I think at the very beginning we had an indication there was not a body in the septic tank. So I think they were looking for something else or just covering all of their bases. I'm glad you noticed that it appeared that 2 different probes were used. Would you describe that one more time, Brian Fitzgibbons?
Yeah, so in the video, it looked as if, one larger device, pole was used, that he was probably, probing whatever was at the bottom of that tank to, physically inspect it by feel. And then the second may have had some kind of recording or illumination device where they could get eyes on what was at the bottom of that tank.
So we've got the search of research of Nancy Guthrie's home and of her roof, of her septic tank, and more. We also know that there was a late night search of daughter Annie Guthrie's home.
Yes.
All right. Dave Mack joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Dave, what do we know?
We know that the investigators, Nancy, went out to Annie Guthrie's house after dark, and it was not just to go and look for one thing specifically. They backed up all of the media and anybody else that was near the scene, backed them further away, and then once they were inside for over 3 hours, those people standing outside the police line were able to see photographs being taken all over the house because they would see the lights in the different rooms.
Yeah, see, that's what's really super question. Go back. Let him say that one more time. I think y'all need to hear this one more time, and I'm going to repeat it after this.
For over 3 hours, those people standing outside backed them further away, and then once they were inside for over 3 hours, those people standing outside the police line were able to see photographs being taken all over the house because they would.
So detectives, let's just say crime scene, pulled up to Annie's house, which is Nancy's daughter. That's who we've been talking about as one of the people that could potentially be why this is all going on. And I'm starting to feel that way. I don't know how you're feeling, but I feel like Annie potentially could have something to do with this. And the fact that they went in their house for 3 hours says something to me. The fact that they took pictures says something to me. And for all we know, they could just be collecting evidence. They could just be collecting evidence. But I don't think they pulled up to Annie's house, went inside, stayed for 3 hours, took pictures, all for no reason. They know something, guys. They know something. And I think real soon we're going to find out.
See the lights in the different rooms from the flashes. But something else too, Nancy, beyond a 3.5 hour long search, what has been called a mysterious silver briefcase. An agent in an unmarked car showed up with this silver briefcase and went inside with it. Well, what we've learned is that is a Celebrite unit that was being taken inside Annie Guthrie's home. Celebrite is the company that specializes in recovery.
Didn't they do that the other day, Dave Mack? Is this the second time they've come out with a Celebrite?
Yes, this is this past week, Saturday night.
So okay. I want to say the Celebrite is what they use to collect data, correct? I could be wrong, but let's listen in and see.
Hey, so this is the second time we believe agents have come out of Annie Guthrie's home with a youth ed, a Celebrite. Joining us, Scott Eicher, who, as I mentioned earlier, is a founding member of the FBI CAST team, Cellular Analysis Survey Team. Founding member. His idea. Okay, explain to us, what is Celebrite, what is a youth ed, and why a second time?
Well, the Celebrate is a device. It can be on a computer, and the UFED program can be on a computer or in a mobile device, like you're showing here on
That's
screen.
the
So you can
UFED,
take that device out,
which is, I
to
believe, is a
location
Celebrate.
and use the software to download the information on the phone. Now, when you said this is the second time,
What I was talking about earlier as well. This is the blood outside of the door. This is one thing that we were talking about earlier. Like I said earlier, I think that this is something that shouldn't be shown. Could be critical evidence to whatever's going on in this situation as part of the investigation. And from what I heard, this could potentially hurt if it were ever to be used in court. However, don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. However, I do agree on the part based on that. They shouldn't have, for one, exposed any of this evidence. They could have cleaned it up once they took their pictures and whatnot. And two, I don't think people should have just been able to just walk up at some point and look at all this stuff, walk in the backyard. I think now we finally, after time, there's a sheriff there guarding the place because it was upon request by the Guthrie family. However, in the beginning, because these guys made a mistake and they didn't roughly go through the home, they missed things like this. And I think this is one indication, on top of the Ring camera missing, of them really, really taking very, very careful steps through the process of investigating this entire home. But unfortunately, I'm sorry I gotta say this, but these idiots that came in here didn't do their job as they normally do, and whoever it is that is doing this investigation doesn't have a very good team, because it's quite crazy to me that we got several different guys a part of this investigation going in here, and they can't get a simple they can't put the simplest things together to start getting an investigation going. They had to come back just to even get nothing rolling, because nothing's happening. But the simple stuff that needs to be done, like collecting evidence, these guys did not get it right the first time. And that's quite odd to me. It's really odd, because just before we even get in the home, we're seeing obvious signs that call for normal, easy, common procedures that these guys come in and do on a normal day basis. And they miss this? I don't know, man. This is super confusing. It's just hard not to overthink certain things that happen. And then you got people bringing up the Epstein thing. I mean, this is just hard to... The media will really twist you guys up, and it's twisting me up. I don't even want to believe that Epstein plays any part in what's going on with the Nancy Guthrie thing. I really don't.
They did this at the sister's house. That would indicate to me maybe there's some new information that came to that phone between the two times that they downloaded the phone. So now they're going to go out and download it. Maybe they got a text from the kidnapper. Maybe they got an email, or whatever they need to now pull off again. They're now using that UFED from Cellbrite to download that data off the phone.
Right. And Rana says they didn't even leave the crime scene tape up. And that's one of the things I was getting at just now. They should have at least left the crime scene tape up. At least. But there's just a lot of funky, messed up things going on around here right now with this whole Guthrie investigation, man.
Or it could be that the first time they came, a certain device wasn't there. Like, he's gone to the grocery store or whatever. And they're now looking at that. It could be a number of things, but I find your theory very, very interesting, that there's been another message, phone call, text that they want to trace. So can a Celebrite trace from where a cell phone call comes?
Well, it'll record the phone number that sent the text or email, depending on the situation. So can get that data, but we're going to get the exact time that it was arrived at that phone. So now we can go to the phone company and say, okay, now give us the full records of this time frame, this specific call, this text message, and let's backtrack it. So that's what I think they're doing with that, is getting the specific information, now going to the phone company.
Much has been made of the fact that detectives were in Annie Guthrie's home in the night taking photos. How do we know they were taking photos? Because media thronged outside saw photo flashes going off inside Annie's home from one end of the home to the next. Okay, Brian Fitzgibbons, I would say there's nothing good about that. But it's open to interpretation. It could mean any number of things. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't like the timing of that. It was later in the evening. Reports from the scene, and of course, this case, each of these residents has media attention around it. So everything law enforcement is doing is being closely monitored and reported on. And we're aware that they were inside for approximately 3 hours, spending a significant amount of time in the garage, taking photos at time in the darkness. So the combination of those things, I believe, indicate that they had some reason to go there related to Annie Guthrie.
Got a question for you. You said the timing in the nighttime hours was concerning to you. Why?
Just that hadn't happened earlier, right? So what it seemed to me is that some new piece of information led them to go there then. They clearly had access to Annie Guthrie's home. They had been there multiple times in the preceding days, and this wasn't done. It's indicative to me that there was some new piece of information that led them to go back and take these photographs and gather whatever evidence they gathered.
Dave Mack, when they came out of Annie Guthrie's residence, were they carrying anything?
Yes, they were carrying out blue gloves and brown bags. That was the exact description, Nancy. Blue gloves, brown bags.
You mean gloves that they had been wearing? Isn't that what that was?
I don't know.
They had been wearing plastic gloves?
I'm assuming everybody's going to be wearing gloves, but that was the descriptor, was that they came out with blue gloves and brown bags. Everybody was placed way back. There was nobody up close to the house, Nancy. They were backed far enough away that they were having to focus in on the rooms as they were being photographed, as watching those lights blinking. So getting a close-up shot of what actually was being brought out of the house was difficult.
Scott Eicher, could you explain why law enforcement uses paper bags versus plastic bags to carry evidence?
Oh yeah, I definitely can. Paper bags allow, and we don't want anything that we put into to a bag, say a plastic bag, to start molding or anything like that, or to stick to the item that's in the bag and maybe remove some fingerprints to that effect. So paper bags are the initial packaging that we use to preserve the evidence, so it doesn't get corrupted either by the heat or anything else touching the item itself.
So if they did put something in paper bags, what do you think it possibly could have been that they collected into evidence? If you're locked in right now, don't forget to like the stream, guys. Don't forget to sub up to the channel. Follow me on Instagram at The Juice. Appreciate it to those plugging in with me tonight. Man, what a story.
Warning about a type of real estate fraud called title theft. White report.
Skip this up because we don't want to see this ad.
Guys, it's out there. A lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon of claiming a family member is involved in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. First, we start with, is it a kidnapping, or is this just a ruse to cover up a murder? Typically, and everybody jump in, if there's going to be a murder, you'll see someone break into, and then they kill the person. They don't, person then take them away from the scene and dump their bodies somewhere. That's very rare. I've never even heard of that happening. If it's a burglary or a robbery, and the person's going to die, they do it right there. They don't spirit them away to kill them. So this does, in fact, look like a ransom. A ransom is very, very rare in our U.S. history, much less a successful
See, I
ransom.
might have to disagree with Nancy on that one. I'm over the ransom part. At one point, I did feel like it was actually a ransom, but now I feel like that was just a whole goose chase. Like, I feel like it was just somebody stirring the pot just to stir the pot.
So in this particular case, a lot of theories are out there that, let's just see what's one of them. Well, a lot are focused on the family. Janine Driver, who is a renowned body language expert, CEO of the Body Language Institute and New York Times bestseller, I've looked at the three siblings, Annie, Savannah, Cameron. I've heard Savannah speak and Cameron speak. I've not heard Annie speak.
So remember, guys, Annie has yet to speak, which is kind of coming off as suspicious to a lot of us because Annie hasn't really said anything. And I'm not going to lie, I'm super creeped out with Annie. Right now, as of right now, tomorrow that could change. I'm still trying to, stay positive with this whole thing. However, Annie is she's spooking me out.
Begging for the return of their mother. And I find it very hard to believe that they would look in the camera and beg for information, beg for the return of their mother, if they knew who the perp is, i.e. a relative, someone close to them or an extended relative. I don't know that I believe, they, to me, and I'm certainly no acting judge, but I believe they're for real. I don't think that they secretly know, quote, who did it.
I agree with you, Nancy. A lot of people have written to me and said Annie, Savannah's sister, looks like she's different than the brother, Cameron and Savannah. Her affect may be coming out differently. I've seen social media TikToks where they zoom in on her face. Here's the problem, I think, with social media and the untrained eye is that we have a grief script of what we see in the media. Listen, we're not seeing the initial impact of when their mother was first gone. I think it's unlikely if Annie was involved, if she knew about what happened, that we'd see her on here. We would hear something like, Annie is too grieving. She was really close to mom, so she can't come on camera. We're seeing her there. Her affect, I wrote down some of the information here, is the calmer the face, the louder the body's happening. Her face, Annie, flattened affect, lip compression, minimal cheek movement. This is someone holding the line so she doesn't fall apart. Now let's talk about Savannah's body language. Is Savannah in both, after the first ransom letter and the second, we see her leaning forward in this pose. And this leaning forward pose is, we see it with usually the matriarch of the family. The daughter, I'm the oldest of three, so I always am the one that was jumping out helping my mom at any time. This is the person that's like, hey, I want to fight. I'm the caregiver here. I want to restore safety. And you'll often see them leaning forward. It's that maternal wiring that's this vulnerability effect that says, I'm connected, I matter. My mom fell out of a whitewater rafting trip. She fell out, she let go of the T-bar, hit her in the eye. No sooner did my mom fall out, I jumped out with her within a second. I was grabbing my mother. That's my maternal instinct as the oldest daughter. So I think we see Savannah's body language here leaning forward in the second video, the plea that we saw after that second ransom note for the second time. Savannah does a double blink at one time. She says this double blink. That double blink is controlled by dopamine and an increase in cognitive thinking. You said earlier, Nancy, you know Savannah well. This is not her normal body language. When you do a double blink, it's the brain's way of pausing. It's the prefrontal cortex coming back online, thinking other things that she's not sharing. So it often happens when it's that increase in cognitive thinking. All three siblings, to me, look like, and in my trained eye, 17, 18 years with ATF, training at the International Chiefs of Police, training top law enforcement officials from all the three-lettered agencies, all three of their body language is congruent with someone, with a family who is grieving, who is not involved. You want to find out someone who looks involved? Look at people who are found guilty. Scott Peterson said his wife went missing. Lacey Peterson. Go watch him. Overly charming is alarming. Very charming. Drew Peterson, his wife went missing. Stacy Peterson. Look at that, bringing out donuts and coffee to the police officers. Overly charming is alarming. Look at any of the people who are, there was a guy a long time ago, Mark Hacking. He said, my wife got up and went running for a run and never came back. He killed her too. Look at his body language. What we're looking for when someone is involved in the crime and they're pretending they're not is contempt. It's a smirk on one side of the face and smiling. You saw smiling with who? The guy in in Colorado that killed his pregnant wife, Shanann, and his two young daughters, Celeste and Bella, Chris Watts. Chris Watts, when he was talking to the media, right after Lacey went missing and his two young daughters, that was immediate. That wasn't a week later like we're seeing now. You know what he did? He forgot to show us sadness and fear, but he smiled. Chris Watts smiled. I hope they're okay. That's called duping delight. All the people I just named that are in jail for murder who said initially their family members went missing, all of them leaked contempt, leaked duping delight, that smile, and the body language was not congruent with what they were saying they were feeling. Here, it is congruent. We grieve differently. This is a week later.
And I said that earlier in the video. I literally said that earlier in the video, word for word. We all grieve differently. However, like I said, I'm a very, very observant guy. And not everybody who's observant like myself reads people well. But I take pride in that. And I also think that I also read people very well. And the person that I'm reading, when I read Annie, I'm sensing something off. And what I'm sensing that may be off doesn't sit very well with me. Tommaso neither. And correct me if I'm saying his name wrong, but Tommaso either. I'm sensing something very off, and I'm seeing a lot of non-eye contact from Annie. I'm seeing a little evilness too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm seeing killer, bro. Straight up. And I hate to say it the way I'm saying it, but I'm not trying to lean in that direction. I'm still gonna stay positive. I still believe Nancy Guthrie is out there somewhere. But at the same time, I'm starting to feel like Annie might just have something to do with this, guys. And for whatever reason, I feel like the sheriffs, the detectives, the FBI, who's ever really deep in this knows a lot more than what they're presenting to us. They know a lot more than what they're presenting to the public. We know that. But when somebody's being held for ransom, why would you share things that could potentially get this person killed? You can't. But Annie right now, just looking at her, I'll try to pull up a picture. She's looking real scary to me. I looked at my door a couple times because I'm like, man, should I even be covering this anymore? These guys talking about Epstein. We got a potential killer that lives 10 minutes down the road from me. I don't know, man. This is getting real scary to me.
Young daughters, that was immediate. That wasn't a week later like we're seeing now. You know what he did? He forgot to show us sadness and fear, but he smiled. Chris Watts smiled. I hope they're okay. That's called duping delight.
Let's go back. Let's start this from scratch, bro, because this is very interesting based on the things that she had to say. I really want to just start this thing from dang near the beginning, bro. Let's just start it almost midway, because this is really interesting, and I really need everybody to pay attention on this.
of pausing. It's the prefrontal cortex coming back online, thinking other things that she's not sharing. So it often happens when it's that increase in cognitive thinking. All three siblings to me look like, and in my trained eye, 17, 18 years with ATF, training at the International Chiefs of Police, training top law enforcement officials from all the three-lettered agencies. All three of their body language is congruent with someone, with a family who is grieving, who is not involved. You want to find out someone who looks involved? Look at people who are found guilty. Scott Peterson said his wife went missing, Lacey Peterson. Go watch him. Overly charming is alarming, very charming. Drew Peterson, his wife went missing. Stacy Peterson, look at that, bringing out donuts and coffee to the police officers. Overly charming is alarming. Look at any of the people who are, there was a guy a long time ago, Mark Hacking. He said, my wife got up and went running for a run and never came back. He killed her too. Look at his body language. What we're looking for when someone is involved in the crime and they're pretending they're not is contempt. It's a smirk on one side of the face and smiling. You saw smiling with who? The guy in California, in Colorado that killed his pregnant wife, Shanann, and his two young daughters, Celeste and Bella, Chris Watts. Chris Watts, when he was talking to the media, right after Lacey went missing and his two young daughters, that was immediate. That wasn't a week later like we're seeing now. You know what he did? He forgot to show us sadness and fear, but he smiled. Chris Watts smiled. I hope they're okay. That's called duping delight.
Indeed. I see the comment. I had to touch up on it real quick. Indeed, bro. Shannon, you're right on board with me. I agree with you 100%. Shannon says they need to gather more proof before they make an arrest, and I feel like that's what they're gathering right now. The fact that they spent 3 hours at Annie's house is bad. It's bad, guys. It's bad. The fact that they had to go in there and take pictures, it's bad. It's really not looking good for Annie or Tommaso. It's really not. It's really looking bad. It's looking bad. I'm sorry. 3 hours? I don't know, man. And whoever went into this home, guys, just think about it. They knew this house very well. Otherwise, they've been doing this for a long time and they're very, very smart. But to take the most revealing evidence, the Ring camera, the cameras inside the home, there's no way in hell with the data that we have today, the detectives, the FBI haven't been able to dig into this as of yet. Maybe they haven't as of yet, because I don't know what the turnaround time is for them to be able to, go into somebody's device and actually find information. I don't know how long that takes. And that's the biggest question. How long does it take for them to break in to these devices, be able to go back? Although on the ones particularly in the home, they can't go back on those from what I'm hearing because of Nancy not paying for her subscription for the camera. I was told I was overhearing that it's only able to go up to about 8 hours, considering she didn't pay for the subscription. But as of for the Ring camera, they have to have something, because from what I heard, the phone of Nancy was left in the home. So if the phone was there, we all know we have access to our Ring cameras through our cell phone devices. So there's no way in hell that that's not on Nancy's phone. Absolutely no way at all.
All the people I just named that are in jail for murder, who said initially their family members went missing, all of them leaked contempt, leaked duping delight, that smile, and the body language was not congruent with what they were saying they were feeling. Here, it is congruent. We grieve differently. This is a week later. Everyone has a different role in a family. I'm the oldest of 3. I have a sister who's introverted. If this was my family, my youngest sister and I, we would be out there, and our middle sister would be the one that'd be a little bit more quiet.
Wow. I didn't even want to interrupt. I wanted to hear every word you said.
Wow.
Amazing. You were talking about Chris Watts and his wife, Shanann. Bella and Celeste, their children. You were talking about Scott Peterson, his wife Lacey. Remember at the vigil, he wouldn't even take the mic. He wouldn't take the podium and speak. He was too busy in the back talking to his lover, Amber Fry. That said, these siblings are front and center. They're not hiding from the camera. But you know what? Everybody jump in again. I want to call on you like a school teacher. If you have a thought, please, I want to hear it. We all want to hear it. All things can be true. There could be someone close to the family or close to Miss Guthrie that's connected. That doesn't mean it's her immediate family. I'm talking about that black sheep son of the granny nanny. You know what? I think that was Brian Fitzgibbons jumping in. You know, Brian, my mom, 94, lives with us. When I go to work and the children go to school, we have granny nanny. I can't leave her alone. What if she fell? I know the granny nannies. Some of them were babysitters for my children who are now 18. But I don't know their husbands and their awful nephews and their sons with a juvenile record. I mean, I'm just making that up. But you may know the person connected to you, like the granny nanny, but you don't know everyone connected to them or who is connected to the people at the church. I'd have them strapped to a poly so fast their head would spin. You don't know who's connected to who. That doesn't mean it's a family member. We could all be wrong, of course. But let's spin it out. What were you going to say? What were you going to say, Fitzgibbons?
Yeah, and I was going to say it's important to remember that right now we may not have access, though we did get access to that message that was sent to KOLD, K-Gun, and TMZ. The ransom message. This latest video from the Guthrie family seems like there may have been additional communication. And that would line up with what Scott Eicher said about going back to the residence with the Celebrite device. That they may be now in direct contact with the Guthrie family. So that's the first point.
Okay, hold on. Tell me your thinking again. Why do you think that there may be a missive to one of the family? Explain.
Well, we were very aware of the messages made public by TMZ and the other media outlets. We have to, take a step back and understand that we may not be aware of all the messages that are coming in, and that there may indeed be messages coming directly to the family now. Law enforcement has not released that information, nor do I think they would in the midst of these negotiations. So we are going to have to defer to what the next release of information is.
Because remember, Savannah, when she's talking to whoever the person who kidnapped her mom is, she says, "We understand." Like if she had been communicating with him, I don't know. She just... You got to remember, this lady's a journalist, so she knows how to present herself. She knows how to sugarcoat. She knows how to kind of talk in code. She knows how to talk on many different levels. And it's hard not to criticize this in a sense of us not overthinking it, for one. But I think that also, just by her saying "we understand," it kind of does give me a sense that there was some communication behind the scenes, and they're not expressing and sharing anything. But that's how it should go when somebody's being held for ransom, and it shouldn't even have made it this far to where the FBI and sheriffs and everyone else got involved. Because if I'm demanding money, I don't want all of these people to get involved. Why would I want the sheriff to get involved, or detectives, or FBI to get involved? Because that creates a higher risk of me potentially getting caught, me not getting any money. It's just, it doesn't really sit. That's why it doesn't sit well with me that this is an actual ransom. And it sounds more like, to me, it's something within the family. It just doesn't sit with me well at all that this is a ransom. It sounds like somebody came through, stirred the pot, and the media took it and ran with it. And we're stuck here. And because we're stuck here, we can't think of anything else. Come on, man.
to the investigators. So, I think it's just important we take a step back and realize that we may not, and we definitely do not have all of the information about these communications.
Has anything been said that makes you believe there's been an additional message?
Yeah, when I heard that latest video from the Guthrie family of the "we understand" comment, it seemed like this was in direct response to new information to me. Again, that's pure speculation.
It almost seemed like it was in direct response to the question, do you understand? And she says, we understand. That's the way it struck me. Okay, got it. So you think there's been an additional communication. Okay, Scott Eicher?
Agree with Brian there. I think there was an additional communication. That's why Savannah made that statement. We understand, we hear you, and we're willing to pay, type situation. So I think this is definitely some additional information that's come in. Maybe we're just not privy to it, and we shouldn't be privy to it because we're going to make a lot of guesses. Law enforcement does have to keep some stuff under wraps, especially when it gets this sensitive data.
Indeed.
My original thought was that there had not been another communication because that's not the pattern. At the beginning, the first missive was, there will be no further communication. Then there was one more. So does that mean they've broken their own rule again and recontacted the family, not through the media, but directly? So Janine Driver, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think that is possible for sure. I agree with the two gentlemen that you have here that I understand is probably still it's still an embedded command. It's still saying understand, that we understand you. I think it's, do you understand what we're saying? I wouldn't be surprised if they reached directly out to the family. Savannah used the word
Why
beg
wouldn't
here.
they?
And again, I'm sure
Why
law
wouldn't
enforcement
they?
is helping script this in some way, if not all together. Beg is reducing the hierarchy. It's saying you are the person in control. So the language here is really important. And I think they're doing everything that they can to get their family, to get their mother back as soon as possible. My prayer is that she's still alive. Everyone keeps asking me, what are your thoughts? Do I think this is real? I think this is real. And to your point earlier, Nancy, could it be an indirect family member? Maybe. Yes, anything's possible. When I talked about the three siblings here, I believe if it is a family member involved in any way, these three siblings are not withholding information, because I'm not seeing body language congruent of someone who is withholding information and being deceptive. There's tons of examples we can look at online. They're endless. We're not seeing it here. My prayers go out to the family.
We wait as justice unfolds. If you know or think you know anything about this case, no matter if you think it's inconsequential or not, please dial 800-225-5324.
So this is a tough situation, man. This is a really tough situation. Unfortunately, I don't think that Nancy Guthrie will ever return back home. I think that the detectives will at some point figure out and get to the bottom of this, but for some reason, something tells me they're not at the same time. I mean, I'm everywhere with this just because there's just been so much going on with this, and it's just crazy because we're at a dead end and no one knows where to look, no one knows where to go. We got media sitting in front of her home for days and days and days, and nothing's happening. There's no leads, there's nothing. Like whoever did this is good, and they're very, very smart. At least for now, they're definitely, this is going every bit of their way right now for whoever did this. And my heart really goes out to the family, man. My heart really does, man. It's a really, really tough situation. It really is. And it just makes me sad to know that there's somebody out there doing this. And I'm 10 minutes down the road, bro. I'm 10 minutes down the road. So, and I got kids. So if there is somebody out there really doing stuff like this, I pray and truly hope that they catch and find this person, because we can't have no person out here like that. We just can't, man. And it's just crazy to me because things don't happen like this in my city. They don't. But I'm really, really hoping for a safe, a healthy return for Nancy Guthrie, because, I mean, it's just sad, man. I like literally want to cry right now because it's just a tough situation, and I just can't imagine losing my mom. And one thing that I'm good at, and a lot of people aren't good at, is empathizing. Like, I know how it feels, and I can put myself in their shoes easily.
Our coverage of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance here with Reaction. Fox News contributor, former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, retired FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell. Nicole, start with you. Let me go to where I went to with Dan Bongino. In legitimate ransom cases, the kidnappers move fast. They establish leverage quickly.
This is my last video I wanted to show y'all tonight, and I am off for the night, guys.
Proof of life is produced early.
Don't forget to lock in with me tomorrow. We are going to cover this thing as long as we can until we figure out something, guys. We are going to support and put that public awareness out there as much as we can, as long as we can. Stay in tune, man. Look for me to go live tomorrow. We'll be at it again, man. Let's continue.
Here with Reaction, Fox News contributor, former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, retired FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell. Nicole, start with you. Let me go to where I went to with Dan Bongino. In legitimate ransom cases, the kidnappers move fast. They establish leverage quickly. Communication begins within hours, not days, of the abduction. Proof of life is produced early and often, and this case has not followed the typical kidnapping model. Obviously, the FBI has that in mind.
Correct. This is definitely not following the typical pattern of what you would see. But again, everything in this case seems to be an anomaly, and that's why investigators, you've got to be on your toes, and you've got to be ready to expect the unexpected. You've got to think outside the box. You've got to get creative, and you've got to be aggressive, and you've got to be always 10 steps ahead of the offenders. And it's difficult to do. But let's just take note of the fact that I just would like to draw attention right now to Savannah's video today. It was heart-wrenching. This was the first time that the plea was actually to the public, because the other videos were to the offender or offenders, asking for cooperation, telling them that they'll pay. This was the first time in an hour of desperation where she is coming to the public and she is pleading for help, and she is saying, please, we are desperate and we need your help. This is the time. Sean, there are people that watch your program. I know for a fact that, there have been other cases where the media helps the FBI solve investigations all of the time. Look at the horrible assassination of Charlie Kirk. People within the sound of the voice of the media heard what happened, and someone turned in their own child. And I truly believe someone within the sound of the voice of the media, whether it's your network or somebody else's, they know who did this. Now is the time to do the right thing and to step it up. You can be anonymous. Call 1-800-CALL-FBI. They are desperate and they need help. And I think it's very important. Jonathan Hunt, he brought up a very good point. As of earlier this evening, TMZ said, according to the wallet information that we saw on the first ransom email, because remember, they were only receivers of the first email, not the second, but they said as of this moment in time, there had not been any deposit made. And that's important because, again, those transactions are publicly available on the blockchain if it is the same address that was in the second ransom email. It may not have been the same address in the second ransom email. And so we do not know what's happening, but one thing I can rest assured, FBI, they will not stop until this case is solved. They will not. They are not going to rest. They are working tirelessly around the clock.
Maureen, let me go to the issue, the odds. 90% of the time, it's family members, and I don't want to cast aspersions on anybody. I want to be very clear about that. But also, we know that law enforcement may withhold or manipulate release of information to draw any suspect out by lulling them into a false sense of security. Could that possibly be happening in this case?
That could absolutely be happening because this is just one of those cases. Normally, there's one or two things that don't make sense, but this is a plethora of data points that most of them don't even seem to be connected to one another. And one thing that comes to mind is like this, what I call the absence of normalcy. where in a normal situation, we'd be able to pick up the vehicles or any vehicle, especially during a tight timeline in the middle of the night, and there weren't any. They all the major streets around there, nothing. And then I thought about it, and I thought, could it be that the person lives close enough where they could just take side streets all the way back to their residence? I mean, there's so many more questions than answers. I'm not even sure that Nancy's home is.
Wow. You know what? I did not think about that. And you guys need to hear this coming from somebody who lives in here, who lives in Tucson, Arizona. I've been here my entire life. I've been nowhere else. In that neighborhood that Nancy Guthrie lives in, she just said, let's go back. I want to replay this for y'all because y'all need to hear this right now.
Be that the person lives close enough where they could just take side streets all the way back to their residence?
Even if the person lived close enough to where they could take side streets all the way back to their residence, whatever she's saying. In a majority of places, if you live in Tucson, Arizona, you can take side streets for a substantial amount of time before traveling through an actual intersection light where there is cameras. Most neighborhoods hold that option. Now, there are points and times throughout the city where you do have to travel through lights because of the way certain neighborhoods are built. However, in a lot of neighborhoods, you can travel through from neighborhood to neighborhood without traveling through lights for many miles. So she may be on to something as far as not being seen if the person were to be kidnapped, which regardless of the fact, guys, she was kidnapped regardless if she's dead or not. She was taken. She was definitely taken without a doubt. And some people I'm seeing are saying she was taken day one or gone day one. I can't agree with that because I don't want to be negative. And considering I still want to somewhat believe the ransom is part of this thing, but with Nancy, they could have went through neighborhoods, especially if they know Tucson like I do. And it's a big city, but a small city. And it doesn't take long to get to know either. But if you know it like I know it, which makes me even believe more that this is family related, because so far we have nothing and no one's been seen.
I mean, there's nothing. The vehicles or any vehicle, especially during a tight timeline in the middle of the night, and there weren't any. They all the major streets around there, nothing. And then I thought about it, and I thought, could it be that the person lives close enough where they could just take side streets all the way back to their residence? I mean, there's so many more questions than answers. I'm not even sure that Nancy's home is in fact the place where this happened, and I'm not at all sure that this is a kidnapping.
Well, I mean, they did find the blood there. I mean, I would imagine that's probably the most logical place, but you may be right. Let me ask you, Greg Jarrett, based on what we know, the blood found on the porch, the Ring doorbell camera ripped out. We see they brought Celebrate into the sister's house again for another check. How do you interpret that?
Well, the ripped out camera at the doorbell, as well as the blood at the threshold of the front door, all indicates that force was used, to remove her, and that suggests a kidnapping. And, Savannah's latest message, I agree with Nicole, issued this afternoon, made to the public, not to the kidnappers. And, that suggests to me that she may have given up hope that law enforcement and the FBI would find her mom before the deadline passed, and it did a couple of hours ago, and indeed, she hasn't been found. We have no idea if the demanded ransom was actually paid. If it was, one of the messages from the suspected kidnappers said she'd be returned within 9 hours, so more of the same agonizing wait goes on. And of course, Sean, the opposite could be true. The family may have decided that since the purported abductors refused to produce any visual or verbal proof of life, then the Guthries couldn't be certain that the demands were real or some hideous hoax by fraudsters. You know, how do you know that the money would be going to the real kidnappers? You cannot know. What's troubling to me is the conspicuous silence from law enforcement. You know, a couple of written statements, but no press conferences.
Yeah, they haven't said anything
for a while now, and the last we heard is they had no suspects whatsoever, apparently no actionable lead. And, you know, granted, these cases are very hard to crack, but they may have run up against a brick wall when it comes to tracing the encrypted server, the disguised IP address that came from the same router. You know, all the surveillance videos, street cameras, cell phone activity, all of it has come up empty. And, you know, given today's technology, Sean, I find it hard to believe that there's no digital footprint that can be mined for evidence. But sadly, that appears to be the case. Yeah. So it's more of a waiting game now.
Exit question, yes or no? I don't like asking it, but I'm going to. Nancy Grace brought up, Nicole Parker, the idea that anyone and everyone that had any contact with Nancy Guthrie, now it's time for them all to step up for a polygraph. Good idea or bad idea?
Good idea, yes.
It's a good idea.
Let's get your Maureen.
It's probably already been done, yes.
Wow. Greg?
Wow.
I don't know if it's been done or not. I would do limited polygraphs or group of friends, family members, and so forth.
All right. Thank you all. Let's hope for a safe return.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling.
So you heard him. Hey, and I've been locked into Nancy Grace. We watched this yesterday, and Nancy Grace was saying that they should do a poly. And you heard one of the casters here. She said that it's probably already done. Maybe she's got some insiders we don't know about. But if that poly's already done, then I can't wait. We can't wait to see how that's going to look when it comes out. Man, oh man, what a story, guys. It is getting late. It's 4 a.m. Your boy got to go to bed. I wanted to just take a quick look at one of the photos of Annie because, man, Annie is just looking scary to me, guys. She looks scary to me. She really looks like she could potentially have something to really do with this, guys. Just looking at the photo in some of these pictures that I saw of Annie and Tommaso, and from what I heard, they had some gambling issues, which tells me that they might have some signs of potentially struggling. You know what I mean? They might be struggling right now. And we all go through that financial struggles or bumps in the roads that we have to deal with in life, right? And, you know, they could be at that point in time where they're going through that hump. And I feel like maybe something went wrong. And either Tommaso, I think it was Tommaso who took Nancy home that night. But it could have also very much well so been both of them taking her home. And maybe they asked her for some money, and Nancy was like, no. And they got into an argument, and things went left from there. I just don't know if things went left, you know, for whomever it was that did this, from the moment that she got out of from the moment that they arrived, once they got back to Nancy's home, for whoever took her home, or once they got in the home. Maybe they dropped her off and went inside for a little bit, or they came back and this happened at 3 a.m. and they had been plotting on it and hesitating all night, and they decided to go over there and make something happen, because maybe Annie and Tommaso had something planned all along, and they did it. They did it. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe. I don't know. This is just so many things to consider here. But I'm really, really leaning in the direction of something being funny with Annie and Tommaso, but particularly Annie. because she's the actual daughter. Tommaso would be the son-in-law. I believe that would be the wife, the husband of Annie. I'm sorry. So I don't know, but let me show you guys just real quick a quick picture, because I know a lot of people really don't know what Tommaso looks like. But I did find a picture of them online. I think it might be an older picture of the two, but I did find a picture. Let's pull that up real quick. So that's Tommaso right there, and then I think that you got Annie on the left. I think so. I believe this is what popped up on Google, but I don't know, man. Something don't seem right with Annie. But this is a really, really, really crazy investigation, and this is some Netflix shit right here, for sure. Off the rip, man. This calls for a whole Netflix scene, guys. This is great. It's entertaining. It's not great, but it's great. I mean, just to see what's all happened in the past 9 days, it's crazy. Because just to see however this guy's getting away with something, get away with what he's getting with, or girl, whoever is doing this, is insane to me. And to me, the more life has gone by, the more I feel like it's harder to get away with things like this. But these guys are proving otherwise, for sure. They are proving otherwise, man. Lock in with me tomorrow. I will be live tomorrow night. We will cover some more Nancy Guthrie, as well as Annie, the Guthrie family. We will definitely cover some more of this. Like I said, we'll stay locked into this whole thing as long as we can. I appreciate those stopping by and plugging in with me tonight. I am going to clock out on that note, guys. I got work in the morning. I can't stay on much longer. I'm way past my bedtime. Hey, I love y'all. Much love, man. It's your boy, YouTube Juice. Rocking with me tomorrow, guys.